Oi, where you going? Come inside.
How you going, guys? Curtis from Cutting Edge Engineering. So today we're going to get started on an upgrade for our Zayer milling machine. It has been a fantastic machine to use, but its biggest letdown is it doesn't have a quill like the Bridgeport style machines do, which means drilling and reaming small diameter holes is quite difficult because you're relying on the feed rates of the machine to do that, and you have zero feel, so it is easy to break tooling. So we do have a few upcoming projects and customer jobs that are quite long that do require drilling and reaming. We can do them in our Bridgeport style machine, but that does require a lot of setup and it does waste a lot of time. Where if we could do them in the Zayer, because of the length of the bed, it would require only one setup. So what we've got is a milling and drilling attachment that was originally designed for a Huron milling machine, and we are going to be rebuilding that and adapting it to the Zayer. So this attachment actually came with our Huron milling machine, but because the Huron is not operational and our Zayer is, we're going to be putting it to use on that. So as you can expect with something that's over 50 years old, it doesn't look the greatest, the paint is in pretty bad condition, and there are a few parts missing, so we are going to have to strip this entire thing down, inspect all of the components, and make what we're missing. I don't think this has ever been pulled apart or rebuilt in its entire life, so it will be interesting to see how hard this is to pull apart. So what this is a drive arbor for the attachment. The 50 taper goes into your universal head, and then the splined end goes into the attachment to drive it. So obviously that needs a good tidy up. Okay. So the hand wheel is in pretty good condition. There aren't any cracks throughout the spokes, but unfortunately the chrome has flaked off, so we will look at getting it re-chromed. Bearing. So something is definitely holding that in there. I'm not going to force it and damage anything. We're just going to keep disassembling, and hopefully what's holding it in will reveal itself. So we ended up getting one of those bolts out, but there is something retaining the other three. So we'll get this adapter plate out of the way and see what's holding them in. So this plate on the bottom is not an original part, it was actually manufactured so this head could be adapted to fit on an auger mill. So we can see that there are actually baby circlips on the bottom of the bolts retaining them, and that's why we couldn't get them out. But obviously the first bolt I picked, it had been broken off at some stage, and that's why we were able to get that one out.
What?
Stopped. So even though we got the circlips out, there is something still holding those bottom two bolts in, so we'll keep looking and see what we can find. But I am going to remove the ID tag off it because I don't want to damage it.
Oh.
Leave that for now, but that's really tight for some reason.
Is it? What's that?
Paint.
No, there.
No,
Was it just damaged?
just damage.
Are you sure?
So I've also discovered there is an Allen key bolt underneath that name tag, but it's not turning, so I'm not going to force it. So instead what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the quill, and hopefully that'll explain what that is. But before I do that, I need to remove the bell that retains the drive spline.
Okay, that had a washer. The others don't.
Oh, I do, they're just stuck in there.
Very greasy. Needs a good clean.
So with that out of the way, we can see there is plenty of grease in there. It is quite old and burnt. We will be cleaning all of that out. Now what I'm going to do is remove the top plate. I think we'll make a real one.
Is that made? That's not original
It's
either.
a bit of Brooker bar that we bought from Bunnings.
It's a bar from Bunnings.
It probably is. Before I try and pull that plate off, I am going to remove this oiler because it is quite common for grub screws to be hidden underneath those things to retain certain components. So even though these look like normal ball oilers are actually for grease, and they are both damaged, one of them has the spring completely broken free of its outer housing and the other one doesn't function at all. And not only that, they are a very odd thread, so it will be interesting to see if we can find replacements. And with both of those out of the way, we can't see a grub screw down there, so we should be able to remove this plate. Now that we got that out, we can see that a lot of these parts have needle raised bearings on them. We will give them a good clean up to see what sort of condition they're in, and if we need to, we will try and buy new ones to replace them. So before I can get the quill out, there is a return spring on the quill that I need to disable, otherwise I could damage it. So in most milling machines, that spring is generally found around the mechanism for the handle for the quill feed. But I have been surprised before and they have been located elsewhere. So what I'm going to do is slowly pull this apart until we expose where it is. And you might notice that there is no handle on the end of this feed shaft. We will be making one that can be used on the left or the right hand side. What was that?
What was that? Something fell out of that bit there. Paint?
Bit of swarf. Oh, is that bit of swarf in there? So when I got this, I did notice there was a tight spot in the quill, but now that we've got the adapter plate off, I can see that it was just a little bit of swarf trapped within the rack, and now it's freed up.
Whoa.
Everything's so tight. Where is the spring? So what this is for is to engage or disengage the fine or rapid feed on the quill. Sneaky little bastard.
Uh-huh. Aha.
So there's your spring. No, that's not the spring that was doing all that work. So I finally got that mechanism out. There is a baby coil spring in there, but that's not what we're looking for because the Quill is still preloaded with spring pressure on it.
Complex little thing. A key that's broken.
What we did find was a sheared off key on that shaft. It doesn't look like anything else is damaged, so what we'll have to do is give everything a really good clean up and replace that one key.
Wow, so cool. Look at that. What the hell's that?
That there is a puck out of something. So as I was taking out the snap ring and cleaning out this part to get a bit more of a better visual on what we're working with, I came across a piece of mashed up tin that has gone through the gear set and has been actually shaped into the shape of the gear teeth themselves.
That's crazy.
Actually, we're going through that one. Like that. And like that.
And into that.
Yeah. It's been, because that dries like that.
That's crazy.
Actually, you know what it is? It's the end cap for that. So we were wondering how that got that in there. We did consider it could have been something during manufacturing that got missed, or somewhere along the lines this has been a part, but it has turned out that it is the end cap from the end of the drive gear, and when someone has installed the spline to drive the head, they've actually pushed that cap out, the gears have picked it up and chewed it up. Thankfully this is quite a soft material and it doesn't look like anything's been damaged, but we're not going to know until everything's been completely cleaned. Now that we've worked that out, we're going to keep getting the rest of this apart.
There we go.
So I don't think that the Quill lock is actually stopping the Quill from coming out, but I am going to remove it and get it out of the way.
Ay. Bent, is it?
The handle was bent.
Oh, okay. Da.
That sounds solid.
Aha. Just dowels, are they? Oh, they lock on against the quill.
Yeah.
Aha. Cool.
So with all that out of the way, there is only really one thing that is stopping us from removing the quill, and that has to do with that little Allen key bolt that was underneath the name plaque, and beside that Allen key bolt is what looks to be a 2mm diameter pin locking it in position. So I can't pick that out and I can't turn that bolt at all. I don't really want to force it and break anything. So I am going to try and use a very strong magnet to remove that pin. If that doesn't work, I will have to set it up in the milling machine and use a very small end mill and just sit there and slowly drill that out. No, it's been center popped. Stop it from coming undone. And probably center popped too hard. So that hasn't worked, so we are going to resort to drilling it out. And to drill it out, I'm going to be using a 3mm carbide end mill. I got this in a kit a few years ago, and I've never had to use it until today. So when attempting something like this, there is a high possibility I could break the end mill. Because I'm machining up against a hardened grub screw and I don't know what the pin is made from, I don't want to break anything, so I am just going to take my time. Take it back to the table. See where we milled it out.
You can see the threads.
Hmm.
That's not from the end mill.
No, that was a screw.
There we go. Ta-da!
So that's everything removed off the main body. I will be sandblasting this and giving it a coat of paint.
Dang, that's tight. Oh. There we go. That's it.
Fibre washer.
Oh, it's disintegrated.
Yeah. I think that's where the spring is.
Oh. Uh-oh.
There's the spring.
There's the spring. Yep. You're gonna be able to push that back together?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's so cool.
I knew it had to be somewhere.
There it is.
There it is. So now that we've finally got the quill out and we found our spring, we're going to disassemble the quill.
On your bed. Go on. Go lay down. Homeless. Go on your bed. Go on. On your bed. Come lay down. Come on. You're so silly. There we go. That's it. How do you get them off though? Undo.
Grub screw.
Okay, that's that. That's just empty now. Okay.
Put that little one back in there so I don't lose it.
Just remember it's in there.
Oh yeah.
What?
Crush plug. So after removing those grub screws, what I have found are crush plugs. They are made from a very soft material like copper, aluminium, lead, or even nylon. And what they are used for is when you screw the grub screw down on top of them, they deform to the shape of the thread without damaging it. Even if you leave them done up, you still won't damage the threads. These are a much better option compared to your pointed grub screws that once they're tightened in, they will deform the thread and they are guaranteed to gore when you try and pull them apart. So I'm just going to put this in the lathe. That'll just give me a little bit of extra support so I can undo this locking nut and try and remove these bearings.
Kidding.
So because these bearings are pressed on, they're not just going to slide off on their own. I'm going to have to press them off, and to do that I'll be using a set of bearing knives and our hydraulic press.
Where's the other one?
I don't know.
Oh no.
So we got all those off except for the inner race of the first bearing. There is no way to get a hold of that with any bearing knives or to try and pry it off. So I'm going to use a little bit of heat to get that to expand, and that should just slide straight off the shaft.
Oh, Jesus.
Righto guys, so that's our milling and drilling attachment completely disassembled. It's really cool to see the inner workings of something like this, considering it was made over 50 years ago, and how everything had to be exactly right and perfect for them to work correctly. Now that we've got this apart, the next thing we need to do is go through all of the bearings to see if we can find replacements, give everything a really good clean up and an inspection, and then we can start putting this back together. But before I do that, there are a few parts that I need to make. You'll have to stay tuned for that video. Thanks for watching. Righto, I think I've got it. Righto. So we do have a few... So even though these look like normal ball, except for the verse, I came across a piece of...
Unknown caller.
So after removing those grub screws, we have found that there are crushed... So after removing those grub screws, what I have found are... So we're just gonna... Wait, what? What was up that? Right. So this...
Where you want to put it? Oh, hang on. Okay, so I know where you're putting it. Yep, yep. That was awkward as. Do you need any magnets, or are you just going to put it all down in a pile? Lay it all down nicely?
Yep.
Starting from that end?
Yep.
Awkward.
They're an odd thread too. They're fucking odd.
Whoa. Okay, I'm not going to video any more of that. Oh, it doesn't even want to focus on it. You got to do the hand behind it. Like a makeup artist person. There we go. It's like, you got to be like this.
I don't do makeup on myself very often.
Bang!